Jamaican Vigilante Killer, Part 4. The Demise of Mr. Biggs. In the previous 3 episodes, we saw Jack being released from prison. He went home to a great and grand welcome home eating and drinking celebration party. Then, the following day, he got his girlfriend Donna pregnant. He then went on a hunting mission to seek his father's 2 killers. And after finding them, they paid the ultimate price. Then after being buried, they are blown into oblivion, blown into pieces at their grave. Jack was on a roll and on a mission-level belief that his mission was the right thing to do, which will put many drug dealers, killers, and gun runners on notice that they cannot always get away with the drug selling and the atrocious and wrong conduct in the society. So yes, indeed, Jack's steady hands and purposeful intentions will make sure that Mr. Biggs and his cronies and the evil drug empire will die 1,000 deaths. And he was sure that the old adage still holds true, which says, cut off the snake's head and the body will die 1,000,000 deaths as well. Mr. Donovan Biggman is well known for local and transnational activities that include the import of precursors from China for the production of dangerous drugs and the trafficking and consumption, money laundering, the flow in the illegal arms sale, extortion and killing in the society as well. Suffice it to say, it is highly likely that Jack will not hold back his attack on the Biggs party after all the drug dealers were present, and could be a great haul in his eradication campaign. Mr. Donovan Biggman's death will mark the fall of one of the most influential drug bosses long viewed by U.S., South American, Canadian, and European officials as a central architect of fentanyl and methamphetamine trafficking, which will be a significant victory for the country of Jamaica. Actually, Mr. Biggman created a feel-good dependency drug stronghold on many citizens of Jamaica who are stuck on drugs and alcohol use. And yes, indeed, Biggs controlled those people. But as part of his graduated power play, Jack will ensure that Biggs and his products will not be accessible to all these people after his historic operation. The irony of the Biggs story is that he believes that he can do nothing wrong because he is Jesus Christ and he can walk on water, but his heart will melt when he finds out that the lone master killer is the one whose father he killed 15 years ago, and so now his men are dying like ants in an ant hill, and that self-same killer is destroying his business, and that self-same killer is at his doorstep to fix his stewed chicken for him because his name came up in the liquidator's book of remembrance for his demise. Please stay with me. I am going somewhere with this story. Thursday, the 23rd of August, 2012, was an unusual day in the life of Mr. Donovan Biggman. Mr. Biggs was worried, very worried, because someone was killing his best soldiers in the drug-running game. By this time, Jack had removed the briefcase that was taken from Tommy's house with the $10 million and gave it to Donna for safekeeping purposes that she hid in her room's clothes closet. If you are still riding with me, very good. I appreciate you. I want you to know it means a lot to me. Now, the moral judgment is yours to make. But look, resistance can come from unstoppable people, and weapons for the mission can come from unsuspecting places. And even in the ugliest situation, people can choose to fight back against the drug dealers and the evil ones in the society because, yes, Tony and Tommy were gone, dead, killed. And several of his other top lieutenants were also killed, blown into bits and pieces. And so, Biggs called an emergency meeting of his other top-tier men in his organizational structure to discuss steps that could and should be taken to find and destroy the killer or killers of his men. This meeting and party celebration will be held at one of Mr. Biggs' secluded mansion in the hills of St. Thomas near Morant Bay. Most gang leaders and top-tier members will be there as well, because the big man, the Don of all Dons, Mr. Biggman controls various gangs in the north, south, central and eastern sectors of the island. The gangs that were invited for this powwow were gangs like the Gully Creepers, the Skulls, One Order, Hood Empire, the Ochi Empire, Hothead, the Clansman, Gaza, Gully, Stonecrusher, Black Ants, JRA, One Entry, the Time Boom Squad, Black Dove, Skeng Dang, and Hot Rose, among others. I can just see them now. And after the killing of Tony, Tommy, and the other 25 gang members at Tommy's funeral, Mr. Biggs was very careful. But he still had to have the party, because it was in the planning pipeline for several months. And with the added meeting about who was killing his men, it was important that this meeting be held. Moreover, many of his big-shot family members and friends would be in attendance, and nothing could change his plans now. This double-edged sword of a meeting will do justice to the issue for the planned occasion. And for the most part, it is obvious that these party attendees' end was written in silence. So, yes indeed, this combined meeting of gangs, drug dealers, and drug lords could be a watershed moment for Jack, the vigilante liquidator assassin. Because Jack the Ripper will rip the lifeblood from the drug dealers from the shores of Jamaica. Jack went to visit Michael in prison, and he was told he would need a special man from the bush who is a master, and a rancher that can fly high like a grinder, plus other necessary tools of the information highway trade. After Jack left the prison, he quickly wrote down the coded message in order to decipher the message that Michael told him he needed in code. That would be one Bushmaster special weapon, one grenade launcher, and other newfangled explosive gadgets to block the main road to the house. Therefore, after leaving the prison visit with his friend, this vigilante ambassador went to Michael's house after calling his auntie and collected those needed munitions. He was clearly informed that this upcoming meeting will be held at one of Mr. Biggs' mansion in the hills of St. Thomas, overlooking the city of Morant Bay, and with an extra view of the Caribbean Sea. He will also be celebrating 30 years of business venture in his drug organizational enterprise zone, so he will use one stone to kill two birds, or that's what he thought. The big man, Mr. Biggs, were now staring into a wilderness of 1,000 dark, questionable mirrors, and the walls that were closing up around him he could not understand. It was Thursday, the 23rd of August, 2011, almost 7 months after Tony was killed and blown up in his grave, and 5 months since Tommy met his demise, and his body experienced an explosive and burning inferno. And this weekend, starting today, Thursday, August 23, the drug syndicate will experience the mother of all celebrations for the syndicate's family in the hills of St. Thomas. This meeting and party celebration will be held at one of Mr. Biggs' secluded mansion in the hills of St. Thomas near Morant Bay. And most gang leaders, drugs and gun runners, and top-tier members will be there as well. Jack must have thought, nice, beautifully nice. Early that morning, Jack went to the outhouse where he kept his equipment and money. A secret compartment under the floor in the unused doghouse, where he packed his backpack, got his duffel bag, a few sleeping bags, food for at least 3 days, binoculars, tape recorder, camera, weapons, and several other important items. And while Jack was loading his truck with the needed supplies for the big shindig at Big's house, his younger brother Robert was sneaking around, looking without saying a word, and as Jack was getting the final items into his truck for the long drive to St. T, Thomas, his younger brother, jumped into the back of the truck and covered himself with the green tarpaulin that was in the back of truck. Jack saw him, but did not make a fuss of recognition that he was aware that his younger brother wanted to get some of the action as well. Because, maybe, just maybe, his brother's invaluable help could come in handy. And so, he continued to play the unnoticeable fool. He got into his white Isuzu truck and drove the long ride to the neighborhood of Hilltop Paradise Cove, in the secluded and sparsely housed neighborhood, overlooking Morant Bay and the eastern shores of the Caribbean Sea. Mr. Biggs' mansion was surrounded by orange groves, dwarf coconut trees, banana trees, ackee trees, thinking toe trees, and other plants, trees, and flowers that would make Mr. Saga's mansion in Tivoli Gardens look like a pauper's house. Alas, Jack was delighted that he had finally located the house of Mr. Biggs. The cool breeze on Biggs' property in the hills of Morant Bay was charged with many eminent possibilities of being a good day in the life of the Avenger, Jack Collingwood, because he will continue to hold accountable those who traffic in drugs, gang killing, deception, and chemical substance poisoning in Jamaica. This invasion of Mr. Biggs' territory by Jack will be the precursor to the destruction of the Biggs evil empire and the demise of Mr. Biggs himself. He drove further up the hill to the staging area, parked his truck in a side road, a cul-de-sac, and was unloading the items from the truck for his mission when Robert made himself visible to his brother Jack. Jack smiled and said, "Bro, I know the feeling. He was your father too, but this is a deadly game of cat and mouse." They then covered the truck with tree branches, leaves, and grass. They then took the equipment and headed for higher ground, overlooking Mr. Biggs' mansion. In Jamaica, during the month of August, it is usually warm, and even hot sometimes, but occasionally it may become cool, very cool. Jack fixed his gears, got into his sleeping bag, gave one to his brother, and they went to sleep, but Jack had his pistols close at hand. This was where he planned to hide in the bushes and do his assessment of the movements of the traffic in and out of the mansion while surveying the layout of the landscape. Then he fell asleep and slept like a baby. Early the following morning at 5 a.m., Jack was awakened by the chirping of the birds and the crowing of the roosters. It was Friday. Jack drank some spring water from his canteen to start his morning. Then he started to do his observation. This was the start of a grand weekend for Mr. Biggs and his posse and friends. Jack also gave his brother Robert a short lesson on how to set up the gadgets and explain how the explosive in the flower bouquet works. He also advised his younger brother that after he comes back from his explosion set up on the roadway that leads to Mr. Biggs' house, and the fight starts, he should retrace his steps, go back to the truck, and go back home to the family house in St. Mary, because, as Jack explains, if anything should happen to both of them at the same time, it would break their mother's heart and send her to her grave, and he did not want that to happen to her. Jack then moved downhill closer to the target area. He set up his Bushmaster Special telescopic rifle with its silencer attachments and armor-piercing rounds, and his recording antenna and device, and checked the clarity of the incoming sound quality. He loaded the double-barreled RPG, rocket-propelled grenade, and put it to the side in case of emergency that would require a quick shot at a fast-approaching or fast-exiting target. The oscilloscope that he brought had a 7 inches long barrel that looked like a fountain pen, with a magnification factor of 200 for its size. Studying the various points of interest on the house through his scope, he realized that although fortified, yet he could, with surprise on his side out, wit them all. He checked his grenades, his canisters of sleeping agents, and his poisonous darts that could also be fired by the rifle. He put on his magnetic vest, his bodyguard, his friend Vestamos. He had breakfast of crackers and coconut water, gave a portion to his brother, and was ready for the day's activities. But no voice could be heard on the recorder. "I guess they are all sleeping," Jack thought while looking at his brother. This was not the first time he had visited this property. 2 weeks earlier he had driven onto the property and pretended that he was lost, and went to the house to ask for direction from the guards. But today was different. He was back for business. He was back for the big kill. At this moment he understood why he had made that irrevocable decision to carry out the process of elimination, eliminating the dregs of society. Sharply at 8 a.m., Mr. Big's grey Hummer came driving up the driveway to the house, along with several other motor vehicles, Range Rovers, Mercedes-Benz Compressor SE, BMW 325 Special Edition, Toyota Prado Limited Edition, 2 Acura Legend LE, and 2 impressive white elongated limousines. Along with those high-end vehicles, there was also a fully loaded with passengers, a Toyota coaster bus with Mr. Big's bus service colours, and in the mix of those vehicles was a white commercial van that seemed to have things for cooking and sharing, that drove towards the back of the house where the kitchen door was located, while the other vehicles parked in the huge front parking lot and where they were unloaded. They were coming to start the cooking and setting up for the grand bashment in the hills of St. Thomas. And if Jack's information was correct, tonight would be the start of the big celebration. In this meeting of the minds, there will also include a listening session to come up with a plan of action to find, trap and eliminate the killer or killers of the syndicate's drug and gun runners, killers, protection and money launderers. During the day, they will be cooking up a storm and getting everything ready for the weekend's bashment at the poolside. As Jack looked through his binoculars, he again saw in the distance, at the side of the house, fields of yellow yam, banana oranges, lime trees, and many other farmers' delight and vegetable garden, while in one corner of the yard there was an outside fireplace that used dry logwood and other blaze-producing wood to help with the cooking with some of the foods, like roast breadfruit, roast yam and corn, and to cook the curried goat and goat head soup. And in the kitchen and on the wood fire in the yard, pans and plates started rattling in the preparation of the foods for the shindig. The ladies and young girls will be picked up at about 8 p.m. and will stay until Sunday. But Jack had a challenge and a big problem. He must ensure that these females are not picked up. This must have been the most difficult week of the year for Jack, who was determined like a hungry rattlesnake to ensure safety for the innocent and as well as to see the demise of certain folks. He must also create a diversion roadblock for other cars coming or going on the property. But how will he do that when he can only be in one place at a time? Indeed, he must call upon his majestic psychological, logistical and forthright natural ability and power of reasoning to help him accomplish this task, including Mr. Biggs. Jack counted 45 men plus 2 security guards at the gate, which makes it 47 in all. But he was sure more would come later in the course of the day. Mr. Biggs' voice could be heard over the listening apparatus, giving orders and instructions as to what to do for this gala preparation. His words were like fireflies in a storm. But could there be others in the house? So far there was no indication that there were. He will just have to wait and see. Only time will tell. There was a 2 miles distance from the main road to the house on the private road. This was a secluded property, and there was no house within a 5 miles radius. From his vantage point he must improvise, adapt and overcome. And indeed, at the right time plant some remote control explosives and claymore mines on at least half a dozen big trees on either side of the road that leads to the house. Indeed, that will be the ideal thing to do, and he had all the explosives and equipment necessary to do the job. Jack listened again to the voice monitor and identified several voices in the mansion that he had heard before. Whoever developed the expertise in electronic surveillance, covert-type radio and wire operations was indeed a genius, and Jack was now an expert in the use of those skilled areas as well. He rested for an hour and woke up, realizing that he had dozed off for more than an hour. Instantly, he gathered the equipment needed and headed for Mr. Big's private road. For the tree job, he selected 3 new generation of Claymore explosives with sensitive grenades that will be tied to other trees to ensure their downfall. Each arc-shaped Claymore mine was deadly and fitted with a 1-foot antenna, enabling it to be detonated by a radio signal. And each Claymore had remote control capabilities that will be effective by using the latest radio wave signals, a different signal for each unit, thanks to Mr. Chang's Army and Navy Surplus store on Duke Street in Kingston. After reaching the spot that he had designated on a map, he spent about an hour fixing his explosives. After his skillful attachments, he inched his way back uphill to his command center on the hillside. Now, the probability of winning against those several dozen cold-blooded killers were in the negative realm, but his plan was solid as a rock, as the Rock of Gibraltar. Suffice it to say, it is highly likely that Jack will not hold back his attack on the Biggs party after all the planning and seeing that all those drug dealers were present, and could be a great haul in this watershed eradication campaign. Jack's rough estimate was that at least 45 or 50 persons were early for at the party, including cooks and servers, chefs, chauffeurs, gang leaders and gang members, political officials, police officers. His official group of personal bodyguards, drug dealers, gun runners, money launderers and professional killers, security and drug soldiers, and a few call girls among other attendees. Drug dealers, gun runners, money launderers, and professional killers, but they were all part and parcel of the Biggs organization of crooks and scammers. The message was clear without being spoken. This was, indeed, easy picking for the Eliminator if everything goes as expected for him. Just then, Jack heard Mr. Biggs telling the 2 hired guards at the gate to take the evening off. They gladly left with food in their plates, so now they were 2 fewer to worry about. However, he would give the 2 guards 10 minutes to leave the area. 10 of the 45 other men were recognized as the underbosses of the Biggs enterprise. Oh, yes, truly. Jack understood that he was really an actor in a story much bigger than himself. Nevertheless, he was determined to do his part in helping from a voluntary perspective to erase the drug stain from his country. Now, Jack was not sure if there were bigger fish or bigger drum players in the ring, or who is playing those drums Biggs was dancing to. But Jack will stop the drum and remove their dancing shoes and dancing mood forever. What happened next will change everything. He rested for a while, and then, after what seemed like an eternity, he looked at his watch and realized that it was almost 8 p.m., which was now showtime for the action to begin. He then squeezed the handheld remote, and there were explosions, and he could hear trees falling which would block the entrance to the mansion. He then mumbled to himself, "Well, gentlemen, that is the precursor to your demise." He then said his goodbyes to his brother Robert and gave him the truck key to the white Isuzu truck that was parked not too far away. Then, as Robert walked back to the truck and drove away, he thought with sadness in his heart, what if his beloved brother is killed at the big house? What if Mr. Biggs uses his dogs to maul his brother? What will the family say about him not staying to help his brother? Robert had no answer. He only knows that his brother Jack ordered him to leave the area and get back home to the family. So, now, to keep the odds regularly even, he pressed the radio switch, and the signal hit the antennas. He squeezed off 2 Claymore remote control devices, then 2 more, then the last 2 that were placed around the electric and internet posts. They were also destroyed and fell to the ground. From a distance he heard the trees falling. The 4 replacement men at the gate and those inside the house heard it too. Suddenly there was commotion in the yard. Instantly, Jack fired 1 barrel of the twin-barreled RPG poison gas grenade first at the gate, but his aim was hastily done without proper aim, and so the grenade went awhile in the bushes near to the gate. Nevertheless, the 4 men at the gate fell down, being overcome by the fast spreading of the gas, but not dead. His mind was fighting against itself, so that he must steady himself, overcome all odds. Therefore, he stood perfectly still and again aimed his RPG at the big window on the house that had destroyed the main gate and disabled the security personnel. He then calmed himself, reloaded, and fired the deadly weapon into the house and into the yard, and he could see people staggering through the doors and the windows and falling onto the lawn from the gas. Then he picked up the Bushmaster Special, aimed at each one of the replacement guards, and those who escaped through the doors and windows, fired at their bodies. The force of the ammunition threw their bodies feet up in the air, then thud to the ground. They were dead, stiff-stoned dead. Gunshots were fired in abundance, in a symphony of destruction from Jack's Bushmaster Special, with extra clips attached. He clipped his gas mask onto his outfit, grabbed his Bushmaster Special rifle with ammunition and a few canisters, grenades, 3 small arms, 3 plastic explosives with 30-second fuses, and his army knife, and scampered downhill toward the house. The skill of silent and passive movement was on his side, so that he could glide from one point to another in mere seconds. As he scaled the high concrete block wall, there were 3 ugly Doberman dogs being loose in that area. He eliminated them and went toward the back door. In the backyard, near to the back door, there were other dogs in cages. There were Dobermans, Rottweiler, and crossbreed mongrels. He sprayed them with the Bushmaster weapon, and the 8 killing beasts stopped barking instantly. He put on his gas mask and hastened inside the house. The big front door ahead was unlocked. Jack stepped inside the big living and dining area, where the staircase led to the upper section of the house. But many men were still conscious, some sitting and some lying on the floor, begging for help, but those guests had no weapons. Ha! Ha! Do you see where this narrative is going? It was a good thing that Mr. Big's security had had all visitors' weapons removed at the door when they came earlier from their person for safety purpose and were locked in a safe, while some guests who were not overcome by the gas were lying on the floor, gasping for breath and begging for help. They, too, were eliminated without mercy by Jack the Enforcer. Many had tattoos on their hands and body to indicate their gang affiliations. Now the odds were fully pointing in Jack's favor. Then he reloads all his weapons. Then he heard Mr. Biggs shouting to someone to close the bedroom door. He raced upstairs and found all doors open except one. He shouted to Mr. Biggs to open the locked door. "Mr. Biggs' voice rang out in clarion tones as he asked, "Who the hell are you, and what do you want?" Mr. Biggs' words dropped like a gavel toward Jack. "Mr. Biggs, I want you to know that this is not saber rattling. This is the real deal, the real repayment, the real just reward." "I am your worst nightmare," Jack replied, and spoke in hushed tones that seemed more familiar than his usual revengeful voice. "I am here to balance the equation." "What equation, damn it?" Mr. Biggs inquired. "The equation between life and death," Jack insisted. "To hell with that equation bullshit. Who are you, and what the hell do you want, Mr. Biggs?" Biggs asked again. Then he added, "I don't give a rat's ass who you are." "As a matter of fact, I don't give a shit. Not a single shit. Not a single solidarity shit who you are. I'm going to slaughter you like a pig." That was Mr. Biggs' first mistake. "What a beautiful thought," Jack responded. Jack stood up straight with a posture of a military-styled straight, while exercising his balanced moral compass. Jack flashed back. "Well, you are breaking my heart, you rattlesnake. Great men will eventually know my name, but around here I am a bum. What I want today is justice. Just justice, divine justice," Jack assured him. "My boys will rip your stinking heart out and eat you alive in minutes," Biggs further insisted. "But wait, there is more. That was Mr. Big's second mistake. Jack laughed. Your boys. What boys? All your boys are dead. All 40 of them in the meeting room, and those in the kitchen and outside are tomorrow's history lesson. It's just you and I, pal. Are you listening to me, Mr. Biggs? Of course you are listening, Biggs added. You walk in here and killed all my men just like that? That's ingenious, man, ingenious. Jack responded. You may say that you are the big man, the boss, the don of all dons. Just then, Jack fastened a small C3 plastic explosive to the door and fired the fuse. Bang went the explosion, the inches were loosed, and the door fell to the ground in pieces. Jack stepped inside a 30 by 30 bedroom area and saw Mr. Biggs and a young girl who was dressed up only in a red G-string and a short, skimpy, sexy top. Jack shouted to her, "Get your ass over there in that corner, you little bitch!" Her young, youthful, luscious body, with skin texture that looks as soft as a rose petal, was tantalizing even to Jack's eyes. And her semi-big breasts were indeed any man's desire, with nipples that showed no trace of childbearing aftermath. They were firm and stiff. Another corporate prostitute? Hey, Biggs? Jack reasoned. But Jack's blood was now boiling hotter. The excitement was getting more intense. She went and stood beside a dresser, as calm as cucumber, on a fruit stand in New York City on a cold winter afternoon. Jack said to Mr. Biggs, "So you are also in the child-molesting business too, are you?" Without waiting for an answer, Jack continued, "Up until today you might have thought that you owned the world, hey, Mr. Biggs. The truth is that you have hurt a lot of people, and I am here to right all wrongs. Many people don't understand the bad things that you have done to achieve all that you have achieved, and that's where I come in. I am here on business to remind you of all your successes and failures. For you see, Mr. Biggs, we in Jamaica are free. We are determined because we are Jamaicans. Life here in Jamaica is sweet and dear to us. Here we enjoy a certain degree of peace, tranquility, and liberty. But people like you are robbing us of our peace, tranquility, freedom, and liberty. You and your organization are using the pretext of helping yourselves in the lucrative and illegal drugs business and other unethical trade, and are corrupting many Jamaicans forthright. Indeed, it is obvious that your intention is to divide, confuse, and corrupt the people of this blessed land we love so dearly." Jack then started looking at the girl's face that was standing in the corner. He started studying her face and trying to psychoanalyze her intentions, because there was a suspicious look on her face. Jack read it, but didn't realize that she was so subtle and determined in her intentions. Jack said to her, "Young lady, this could be one of your best moments in your life. Don't make it your last." Then, suddenly, without responding to Jack's warning, the girl pulled a pistol from a bookshelf near to where she was standing and instantly fired 2 shots into Jack's chest. But by golly, wow! His body armor protected him from instant death. As she fired the shots, she said, "Who the hell do you think you are, coming into my man's house with your guns a-blazing?" A tingling thought of success runs through the girl's speech pattern as she started to move toward Jack, with intentions of finishing him off. But, like ripple effects on water from the east wind, Jack, whose reflexes were faster than a cobra and expeditious like a lightning bolt on a coconut tree trunk, his reflexes kicks in, and instantaneously he pointed the pistol at his target and squeezed off 3 shots, 3 golden bullets that were reserved for Mr. Biggs, found their marks and lodgment in her chest. "She fell down dead," Jack said. "The harder they come, the harder they fall, one and all." Suppose she had aimed for his head? Jack would be dead. In a case like this, it is either kill or be killed with expeditious reflexes, Mr. Biggs pulled a big butcher's knife sharpened on both sides and aimed it at Jack's chest, but the knife was pulled from his hand by the magnetic field of Jack's vest and bounced off his chest. Mr. Biggs has been known to have killed most of his victims by throwing his 2 knives into their chest. He was a skilled knife-throwing expert. One can only guess that he was Tommy's teacher. "Now sit your ass down on that chair, Mr. Biggs, you fat frog," Jack further instructed Mr. Biggs. "I know that trouble always comes in threes. Is there anyone else in the house?" "No." "No," Biggs replied explicitly and speedily. Jack noted the haste that he answered with, and according to his psychology teaching, there were others in the house, but he let it pass in order to keep his focus on the big man. Then Jack continued, "I have waited for more than 15 years for this showdown. 15 years that you have stolen from me. If you don't know who I am, let me enlighten you further. Let us look backward in order to look forward for another minute or two on this leg of this remembrance tour. My name is Jack Collingwood. You killed my father, John Collingwood, and my uncle Jerry Collingwood has been missing for several years. Now, you can be a reasonable man and answer all my questions, or you can claim to be suffering from altered memory loss like a drug addict. Then you can start to rewrite history, fabricating a past that allows you to feel better about your present state of affair, or just go for your guns. Then I will kill you where you sit. But then again, of course, you don't have to answer any of my questions, because there is a mole, an informer, in your organization who will give me all the information I want and need. And so, Mr. Biggs, please understand that I am not going to force you to answer me, because force is not power. Power has to come from the inside. But let's see how reasonable a man you can be." Mr. Biggs then burst out, "Young man, you are a goddamn loose cannon?" Yes, indeed," Jack responded. "Thanks to you. You created me. You are this loose cannon's creator. Mr. Biggs," Jack continued, "how can a killer like you find peace of mind? I know that sometimes we don't have choices. But I declare to you that I am here to help you find peace, and it will depend on your choices. Mr. Biggs, I know that you are a real bad man, a real gangster, a real killer, and a real mafioso of sort. But today is your lucky day because I am here to help you find peace and tranquility of purpose. You are a parasite, sucking out the blood of the poor and destitute people of Jamaica, and you are so evil that even the devil is vexed over your actions of atrocities. Now listen to me very carefully, Mr. Biggs. Today you have been summoned before the bar of vigilante justice for the evil things that you have done to Jamaica and Jamaicans. Before Mr. Day, Biggs could answer, Jack continued, "You are an untoward person. Now for the past 30 years, you have been fanning the flames of murder, drug dealing, prostitution, gun running, money laundering, and terrorism financing. You have been poisoning the citizens of this country. How do you plead guilty or not guilty?" Again, before Mr. Biggs could answer, Jack added, "You see, Biggman, in Jamaica, we Jamaicans share more in life than what divides us. Now hear me out, Mr. Biggs. The world is divided into 2 players, those holding the gun and those at the other end of the gun. Now think very carefully and clearly about your answer to my next question. Any wrong answer, and I start shooting. I'll start incrementally with your legs, and then I will move up to your head. Now, Mr. Biggs, the big question to you is, where is my uncle? His family has not seen or heard from him for the past 12 years. Where is he? How the hell should I know? Mr. Big burst out sarcastically. The first 2 shots rang out, bang, bang, hitting Mr. Biggs in the right and left legs above the knees. "Is it my accent, or do I stutter? Read my lips. Where is he? Men like you don't die in your beds. You die with a gun in your hand and a bullet in your heart. If you live by the gun, chances are you will also die by the gun. Answer my question correctly, or else. By the way, let me tell you something that I have learned. Confession clears up the heart and brings you closer to God. Now, correct me if I am wrong. In your warehouse in Tivoli Gardens at the corner of Bustamante Highway and Seeger Boulevard in your office, there is a glass container, and there is a man's head in it. Whose head is that?" Jack asked further. Okay. Biggs sighed with resignation. "This goes against my principles, but I will tell you. It is your Uncle Jerry's head. He stole $10 meters from me, and I had him killed," Biggs added. Jerry! Biggs repeated the name and shook his head, making the name sound like a communicable disease. "Great! Now we are getting somewhere." "So, we have at least one thing in common. We both believe in following principles," Jack insisted. "Mister!" Biggs was not telling the truth about his principles, but it was close to the truth, and it was good enough for Jack, who then further insisted. "Give yourself a round of applause, Biggs! Now I have found the pretext for which to kill you, but you must understand that I am only educating myself. Everybody has their streak of bad luck, and Uncle Jerry had his. Actually, he had a very bad day in a very unusual place, New York City. But let me paint for you a broad-based picture of yourself. You have stolen much more from farmers and other drug dealers all over Jamaica," Jack went on. "A thief from a thief is a moral act, isn't it, Biggs?" "Well," Mr. Biggs started to answer, but Jack cuts him off. "Let me raise your horizon a little higher. Sir, take for instance Mr. Brown, the ganja farmer from Westmoreland, who you robbed of 30 acres of ganja. What was the wholesale price worth of that $100 million? And then, because you did not want to pay him, you had him executed like you were Al Capone." "Mr. Biggs then exclaimed. "Hell, things are not working out for me today." Then he asked Jack further. But how do you know these things?" Jack laughed. Ha! You are just an overindulged idiot trying to prove that your business is a secret. Mr. Biggs, I need for you to tell me about your organizational structure in New York City. Who is the big man there? Those answers to you, and the chain of command, along with those below the underbosses in New York City. And remember, don't ever lie to me again, because I have your number. And remember also that the coconut water is always cooler and sweeter on the coconut trees when you can't reach them." Suddenly, a portion of the wall at the door that was blown away fell to the ground. Jack swiftly shifted his gaze, his attention, and his pistol from Mr. Biggs to the entrance door. But he soon realized that it was only the duppies that he had just created were overreacting. Jack had used only a small portion of C3 explosives. Imagine if it was C4. Jack then glanced in a corner and saw several monitors and computers in a semicircle arrangement that were showing and recording all the activities from several of the Biggman's establishments in the central and eastern part of the CA island. Several screens flipped from one image to another and then to another, all scenes of illegal activities of Mr. Biggs. Jack also recognized a tiny, powerful circuit attached to a direct satellite transmission link-up system. And from this vantage point on the hills overlooking most of the eastern skies of Jamaica, Mr. Biggs would have a clean and clear transmission, even on a cloudy, rainy or stormy day to many parts of the world. Now, Jack's skillful incision in destroying the internet cable and light poles that lead to the property of Mr. Biggman may be the loudest evidence that will help authorities realize the enormity of the situation as they understudy the communication apparatus and connection on the property to various parts of the drug world, especially to South America and China. But after the public service poles were destroyed, the emergency house service light and internet service came on automatically. Jack then exclaimed, "By gosh, man, you even have direct connection to Colombia, to the Colombian cartel. Now, Mr. Biggs, could it be that you've grown bigger than nature intended? It is no wonder that you are called Biggman, but I am really puzzled by your action of 15 years ago. How could you, being as big as you thought, could have made a big mistake as elementary as that? What are you getting at, Mr.?" Biggs asked Jack. "By sending unseasoned killers who didn't know that they should do surveillance and fact-finding first before the kill. Then they would have known that there were two brothers who looked alike. Please understand that hard decisions call for hard solutions. As for me, I am just a soldier on the covert battlefield to put an end to suckers like you," sensing the seriousness in Jack's voice. "Mr. Biggs flashed back, "But I heard that you are a peaceful man, with ethical manners that you have learned in prison." "Yes, I am," Jack assured him. "But that doesn't mean that I am weak, foolish, or unreasonable. I know when someone has crossed the line, and you have definitely crossed many red lines, you coyote." But I work for a living just like any other man," Mr. Biggs said. "You work for a living?" Jack flashed back. "Now, if you work for a living, then why do you kill the citizens of Jamaica and others with illegal substances in your line of work? Work? Ah, you're a devil, a Lucifer, and Satan personified. But I am sure you understand the Chinese proverb that says that there are three truths: your truth, my truth, and the whole truth." Just then, Mr. Biggs put his right hand in his waist, but Jack cautioned him. "Not so fast, Mr. Biggs. What are you trying to be, a hero?" "Listen very carefully. Tony tried it, and Tommy tried it, and look what it got them 6'6". I would suggest that you slowly remove your hand from your waist immediately. Maintain your cool, and you may live a few minutes longer." Mr. Biggs slowly removed his hand from his waist and rested it back on the chair. Jack went up to Mr. Biggs and removed 2 weapons from his waist and 1 each from his ankles. Jack's blood was now boiling even hotter, and his patience was running thin as he said, "Mr. Biggs, one thing I like about you, you are very democratic like mosquitoes. You don't care who you bite and whose blood you suck. As long as you are sucking someone's blood, you bloodsucker. Who the hell do you think you are? Flash Gordon, Superman, or the Untouchables? You are a menace to society. You think you can just go around killing people like you created them, without retribution? Hell no! When I'm finished with you, you won't be big anymore. I am going to cut you down to size. One thing you will never have the chance to enjoy, and that is restorative justice. You will not get a second chance to heal the harms that you have caused in this island paradise of Jamaica or in foreign. So, start making peace with your God now." "But, Mr. Biggs, let me tell you something poetic that I learned in prison. The poet says, 'Life is free, and life is earnest, and the grave is not the goal. Dust thou art, to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul.'" Mr. Biggs noticed the impatience in Jack's voice, and in trying to psychoanalyze Jack's attitude, he asked, "Are you going to murder me in revenge?" Jack lashed back. "No, no. What I'm going to do to you is to administer divine justice. I am not a crowd pleaser, a drug dealer, or a thief like you. I am a selected killer, but I kill to protect society, and that is divine justice. I will also administer Moses' law, an eye for an eye. You see, revenge is an airborne disease, and it travels fast, like the swine flu disease, and even like the COVID disease. Remember that sometimes things worth living for are worth dying for as well. Further, Mr. Biggs, there are 4 things in life that comes not back: the past life, the spoken word, the swift arrow, and neglected opportunities. But I am going to be like a boomerang to you if you don't tell me what I want to know. You little dog face, tell me who in New York City killed my uncle. Mister, Biggs shouted back at Jack. To hell with you, stinking nigger uncle, and your stinking mother who delivered you into this world, you damn bullfrog. Jack still maintained his calmness and coolness, then replied to Biggs' insult. So, you have killed my father, killed my uncle, and now you want to turn on my mother as well. Isn't that so, Biggman? Jack asked, and then continued. You see, Mr. Biggs, profanity is a brutal vice, and he who uses it as often as you do is not a gentleman. Hear me out, mister. Biggs, a warrior's life must be pure, and you are not a true warrior. And because I am a true warrior, I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't use the kind of profanity that insults women, mothers, or children, so don't use it again in my presence. Otherwise, you will be history before your appointed time. I will agree that men like us, we are warriors, and some of us may fall on the battlefield, like Saul and his son Jonathan. But I tell you this, I am going to make sure that you fall like the giant Goliath of Gath, who was killed by little David, the shepherd boy. Jack then further said, Mr. Biggs, today is actually your lucky day. Today you have the luck of the Irish. Mr. Biggs shot back, and why is it that today is my lucky day? Without hesitating, Jack replied, because the pendulum is swinging in your direction. To hell with that pendulum bullshit. You are talking in parables, like you are Jesus Christ. No, I am not Jesus Christ, Jack replied, but I am the monster at your doorstep, the monster called death. You see, Mr. Biggs, a good teacher teaches by example and gives plenty of opportunities to the students to apply what he or she teaches. And I am sure that your teachers have done just that, and today I am doing that as well. So, are you going to kill me? Asked Mr. Biggs again. No, I'm not going to kill you, but Susie will, Jack answered, as he pointed to the ivory handle pistol in his hand. Now this is your final chance, Mr. Biggs. There is still time to put up the deck before you play the final hand. Why are you kicking against the pricks like Saul of Tarsus? I'll crack your brains open like an eggshell if you don't cooperate. Tell me what I want to know before we start playing Russian roulette. You see, mystery is sometimes misunderstood, but my patient is wearing thin. Crime, violence, and drug dealing is a Jamaican emergency, and you are a big part of that crisis. Mr. Biggs begged for mercy. I am losing a lot of blood, he insisted. I know. And you will lose a whole lot more. And I still have 15 bullets left in this clip. Okay, Charles Riley. He was the one who killed your Uncle Jerry, Mr. Biggs acknowledged. The headquarters is at 225 Street and White Plains Road at a clothing store called Biggman Big Woman Clothing Store, which is a front for the operation, and downstairs is the operational office. This is where they wash all the illegal money for recirculation. Thank you, Mr. Biggs. It is amazing what a little cooperation can achieve, Jack stated hastily. Jack had heard voices in the distance. Finally, Jack said to Mr. Biggman, But before I kill you, let me explain something about the principles of life, Jack further stated. But, you promised to let me live, Mr. Biggs inquired, as he pointed the semi-automatic at Mr. Biggs' head. Listen, mister. Biggs, men like you with the reputation as drug dealers, drug smugglers, cocaine peddlers, and gun runners have given Jamaica and Jamaicans a bad name. You are all selfish, narrow-minded, and a menace to society who has no care or concern about the effects of your sordid behavior on the young and older people. Your poison is killing off the Jamaican population and many others of other countries as well. You have also forced or inveigled members of the security force to join your ranks. They are paid off to turn a blind eye and have added to the criminal elements in the Jamaican society. The country will be better off without people like you and your crime posse syndicate. Your death will be another sacrifice the country will make to help correct the ill health of the society. But in all fairness to you, let us reason together. What is your real name? Jack inquired of Mr. Biggs. My name is Donovan Biggman, Mr. Biggs replied. Then Jack continued. Donovan Biggman, you are the most despicable person I have ever met. You have no remorse for anything you have done. And why should I? Mr. Biggs flashed back. And why should you are asking me? Huh, and why do they call you Mr. Biggs? Jack continued. My name is Biggman. I live big, I spend big. I have a big business, a big house, and a big bank account. I am bigger than the government, bigger than the police, and bigger than you. You retarded snake, he answered. Keeping his cool, Jack added, Indeed, Biggman, I can see that you are suffering from behavioral amnesia. Then Jack softly further stated, Biggman, there are many threads of evidence that reveals that you have built an evil empire by dealing drugs and have corrupted a large portion of the Jamaican population, both young and old, with your devilish deeds. These deeds cannot go unpunished. Then Jack reasoned with him further. You know, mister, Biggs, let me tell you something that a wise man once said. The wise man said, Let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might, nor let not the rich man glory in his riches. Yes, I agree that you're bigger than me, but you are not bigger than these golden bullets I made especially for you. When I am finished with you, you will no longer be the Big Don or Donovan, but the Dead Don or Dedavan. Well, Mr. Biggman, I know that you are a rich man, and many of you rich men act as if you are richer than God, and many of you want to go to heaven, but you don't want to die. But I am sure that you can't take your riches to hell with you today, because that is where you are going. Then, Mr. Biggman made a last-ditch effort to save his life, as he asked, Jack, if you can find it in your heart to forgive me for having your father and uncle killed, and if you release me, I will make it up to you by making you the second in command of my operations here and abroad. You will be my eyes and ears and making big money for your efforts. If you want me to beg, I will beg. Please don't kill me, muttered Mr. Biggs. Biggman, don't come to me begging using Japanese humility. The fact is that you have corrupted the legal system of this country. You have corrupted the youth. And you have corrupted every sector of the society, and you must pay for the destruction you have caused. Hey, everyone has to pay, and you are no exception. I paid 15 years of my youthful life in prison because of you, but today I am your judge, jury, and executioner, and I declare you a menace to the society, which makes you a clear and present danger, not only to yourself, but to the whole human race. Finally, Mr. Biggman, Jack added, the salient point to this conversation, which will soon end, is you have been fanning the flame of terror on Jamaicans, but to everything there is a beginning and an ending. Now, how long did you think your reign of terror would last forever? Hell no, Mr. Donovan Biggman, you have been found guilty in the court of vigilante justice, and I now sentence you to death by a one-man firing squad, all your illegal labor, drug dealing, prostitution, gun running, child molesting, bloodletting, kidnapping, and your evil empire will soon be gone with the wind. I will see to it. For you see, Mr. Biggman, you can't, by the power of positive thinking or new-found good intentions, erase or remove the evil deeds that you have done. Then Jack shifted the weapon to automatic override. Suddenly, from nowhere, a voice announced, "This is the police. Drop your weapons and don't move." It was the voice of Special Investigator Koonan Ladivare. In an instant squeeze of the trigger, Jack fired 7 shots into Mr. Biggs, 2 shots in his forehead between his eyes, and 4 into his left chest, and 1 in his abdomen. Then Jack murmured to the dead Biggman, "Mr. Biggs, I only handle shit once, and that is only when I clean myself. Mr. Biggman, you are now dead. Indeed, I declare you dead. Sorry, Mr. Cop, you're not going to eat away my food today," Jack swiftly said further, looking behind him. One of the police officers was about to shoot Jack, but Ladivare quickly shouted, "No, no, don't! Hold your fire! No one shoot! Lower your weapons immediately, everyone!" Jack threw his gun to the ground and clasped his hands over his head and surrendered. Ladivare asked further, "Do you have any other weapons on you?" Jack nodded and said, "Yes, 2 more." They were then removed from Jack's person by an officer. Then, after a brief minute of silence, Jack, with a shrug of his shoulders, said, "No fear, no regrets. You've got me, mister." "Cop!" Then Ladivare asked Jack. "Jack, did you have to kill him?" Jack responded, "Did you want me to leave him up to his reprobate mind on such a picture-perfect day?" Ladivare did not answer. There was no need to answer, but he thought privately to himself, "Although I am a police officer, yet this systemic drug, garrison, prostitution, robbery and murder problem in Jamaica must be approached and challenged in an unorthodox way. And Jack did what I was afraid to do and could not do. Thank you, Jack." Koonan Ladivare, with his 5 hand-picked team members, all professionals, along with Thomas Wentworth, the special investigator, held Jack and handcuffed him standing. But there were also 4 white men there, who were not Jamaicans. Ladivare further removed the remote control recorder apparatus from Jack's body that was in recording mode that would be needed for future evidence. They instructed Jack to move over to the next corner of the room. Jack then turned to the 2 federal agents and politely said, "Gentlemen, I did not catch your names." Succinctly, like a double lightning blast in a mangrove forest on a stormy night. The agents suddenly replied in unison, "Sorry, Jack, we did not throw it. Just move along, and we will get along." Jack mussed to himself, "Smart Alexes." Jack was handcuffed and placed in a police car and taken to the Kingston police station, with better security for the arrested ones. At the burial of Mr. Biggs, it was on a Wednesday, 3 weeks after the death of Mr. Donovan Biggman, at the grave digging for the deceased, Robert, Jack's brother, went and spent some time with the grave diggers at the Dovecot Cemetery, posing as a business friend of Mr. Biggs. The grave diggers were also talking about how the security people will check all flowers that will be placed in the grave. And so, in a flash, Robert decided to change to a paradigm shift, and ingeniously he came up with a new approach. And several days later, at the burial, he went early with a brown envelope with 5,000 Jamaican dollars in small notes and hundreds of printed paper fake US dollar notes that he printed at his workplace at the printing factory where he worked in Kingston. And just as the white hearse blasting with lively funeral music with Mr. Biggs' body came to a stop, he gave the envelope to the grave attendants and said, "Like the Egyptians and many Africans natives, I believe the dead needs money and riches to provide for their passage into the afterlife. So, I am giving my friend Mr. Biggs $10 million in this envelope to help him cross over to the afterlife." As he showed the money to the grave attendants, but he had already set the 3 powerful small-timers to go off at 10 p.m. in the night. Yes, indeed. The attendants took the envelope and put it flat on the floor of the grave, and covered it with a little dirt. with the intention of coming back later to dig it up and secure the envelope with the money for themselves, the $10 million. But that was their first mistake. After the burial preliminaries were done, and as the coffin was lowered in the grave, many people started throwing money, thousands of dollars in various denominations, plus gold and other precious things into the grave, as well as a send-off for the Don man, Mr. Donovan Biggman. The grave was then sealed and covered. Many were crying and swearing about taking revenge for the one who killed their boss. Most people left the graveyard because rain started falling lightly, with a rainbow in the sky. It was 9:50 p.m. when the cemetery was finally empty, except for the grave attendants who were waiting to dig up the grave and collect the gold, money, and other precious things that were cast into the grave, but especially the envelope with the $10 million from the anonymous donor. After Robert reached his rented car and drove away, he removed his total disguise from his face and head. He then drove away back toward his house at Devon Pen in St. Mary. By this time, the grave attendants started digging up the grave to retrieve the abundance of riches from the grave. That was their second big and last mistake, for alas, at exactly 10 p.m., without warning, there was a big explosion at the grave. The explosion blew to pieces everything in that radius area of 10 feet into fragments, including the grave diggers, the dead man's coffin and corpse, blown into smithereens, just as the rain started coming down in cuprous showers minutes before the inclement weather started. By this time, Robert was on his way home on the Junction Highway, and Jack was lying on his cell bed at the police station lockup in Kingston. The end of Part 4.